Superstar Billy Graham, who was an incredibly influential character in wrestling. I feel I need to set this up because he was way, way back. You know, I stopped following wrestling a long time ago, but at a point in my childhood, I was very into it. The Superstar was around then, but I wasn't aware of who he was. I didn't know his history and how influential he was on the sport. In terms of building a character and a gimmick, he was even, his philosophy and his very gimmick was taken by Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan admits to that as a way of paying homage, but a lot of people were influenced by the Superstar, so he has a meaningful place in the sport on some level. But I'm setting that for the audience who don't know who he is, but he posted this on something the kids call Facebook, and it was in reference to Ronda Rousey's participation in the WWE, and I believe specifically WrestleMania. Here we go. First off, for the fan who wrote, quote, "I find Ronda's use of Piper's gimmick nauseating," end quote. "You, my brother, are dead on, my man. I find it a total insult. And absolutely, it reveals that she does not have an original thought in her head. Damn, can't she be original at anything? This shows you how shallow she is. And by the way, I'm a fan of females being in the main event. That is why I put up this photo of Amanda Nunes kicking her ass in 48 seconds. She looked pitiful," she being Ronda Rousey. "A TKO in 48 seconds on December 30th, 2016 by Nunes, a real fighter, and Rousey, just a jobber." I'm going to stop there, but I think that you get the theme of it. I don't think that was fair, Jacob. I don't think it was fair. It's a scripted role. She goes in and she follows the script. I don't know how creative and original she needs to be. There is something to be said, and in wrestling we see it often, in film we see it all the time, in music we see it all the time, where you don't reinvent the wheel. If somebody else did something and it worked, you go ahead and take it. One of the greatest marketing stories that every marketing professor in America will tell their class, the same story, and it's about the George Foreman grill. I'm sure you are well how successful that grill did. I believe George's participation was cashed out at like $50 million. But the backside of that story was the actual grill, the same hardware, the same cooking mechanism, was tried and failed twice. That exact same thing, they then put the marketing campaign of George Foreman behind it and called it the Foreman Grill, and all of a sudden it's a blockbuster hit. So there are times in history where you take somebody that did something really great and maybe it worked, and then you duplicate it, and then you have to deal with the fact, to the Superstar Billy Graham's point, that yeah, it wasn't original. But I don't know that we need to put a whole lot of weight in originality. I think that might be an overly used term. There's other times where you'll use somebody who it didn't work and get over, but you looked at it and go, but it should have. I don't know why it didn't. Maybe the timing was wrong. I think I could take those same things, and I think I could make it work. And you see that too. You'll see remakes of songs, and the remake's a hit, but the original wasn't. That's a common thing. I would also just offer to you, in Superstar's case, directly, he did so many things right. He was innovative at a time that wasn't ready for him. It came off as almost uncomfortable at that time. Hulk Hogan was able to see that and goes, well, we're in a new time, and I think that same thing would work, and I'm going to be the guy to go try it. And it did. I think those are compliments when you rip somebody off. I really think, as opposed to, originality being the key ingredient you're looking for, I do fall back to the expression that imitation is the greatest form of flattery, and I think it should be left right there. So I'm just not sure that his anger was appropriately placed on Ronda. Somebody handed her the shirt. Somebody else picked the song. Somebody else planned the backdrop. And it was to pay homage to Roddy Piper, who she was friends with. She did take his name of Rowdy into mixed martial arts with her at a very young age, before she was a star of any kind. And that was a cool thing. And now that you've lost Roddy, I haven't spoke to his son, but I have a feeling if I called Colt right now and go, what do you think when you see your dad's logo up there? I think that he'd go, man, that was awesome. It was great. So what are your opinions? Am I wrong on this? I mean, does she have to be original? Don't I ultimately win this argument just by simply telling you it's not her choice anyway? She's brand new and somebody else wrote it and somebody else planned it. She got a contract and she did what she was told to do. Isn't that, can you put anything on Ronda, whether you like it or don't, but can you put this on Ronda?
I would say no.
Right.
Plus when she came into the MMA, she was just, I'm talking about even the MMA, she was being a heel. How many times have we seen the heel? Millions and millions of times. Some people are better at it. Some people frankly just suck at it, but you have good heels and you have bad heels. And frankly, for a while, she was A good heel. I talked to so many people that could not stand her. They hated she wouldn't shake hands. They hated she wouldn't tap gloves. They hated her arrogance. They would even say, I hate her face she makes at people. That's what worked though.
Sure.
And if you just carry it over into the WWE, I mean, who can blame her? And if the WWE sees that and WrestleMania sees that it works, who's to blame them?
That's where I'm left at too. It's like, okay, according to the law, in every situation, somebody has to have fault. How do you put it at Ronda? Somebody else picked all of that stuff. Why do you put it at Ronda? And why start her from scratch at the age that she is and with no experience? Why not bring in a little something from somebody else? And yeah, it was a pretty straight ripoff of his gimmick. Same colors and same shirt and same nickname, all these different things. But, so what? I'm confused. And I'm really, and even if you don't like it, and let's say it didn't work, I really thought it did. I even thought her segment on Monday Night Raw did. And you'll remember, I'm the same guy who a few weeks ago was kind of rolling his eyes going, come on, WrestleMania and a main card spot and it's a debut. This just doesn't add up. This is a spoof and a gimmick and there's a place for that, but I'm not going to pretend that it's something it's not. And then all of a sudden she comes out and you go, my goodness, you took this serious. You didn't disrespect anybody. You didn't disrespect the business, the fans, yourself, your opponent. You did a really good job, and it was apparent that you took it seriously. It was cool. Saw her spot on Monday Night Raw. Thought it was the same thing. You know, I thought, and the fans were over, and they came to life and they popped. So a lot of times when you hear these criticisms, it does come from jealousy, sure, but that doesn't make it wrong. It's okay to be jealous if you're somebody like Superstar that did help pave the way and you did put your time in. You've now bought into the right to criticize. So it is a little bit different, but he was original. But somebody who's original will always fault somebody who's not. Well, you should have done it my way. Hold on. You did a good job and you did it a different way. But no, not everybody needs to come be original and do what you did. That just isn't true.
What's the last action movie you watched?
Oh boy. I don't know. I just rewatched Casino. Does that count as an action?
Sure. What's your favorite action movie of all time?
Action movie? Oh,
I'm making a point here.
Yeah, I know that you are, but I want to help. Favorite action. I'll tell you exactly what it is.
Coming.
Wow.
Wow, coming up blank.
No, I've got it. I've got the movie. Paul Giamatti. I've got the whole movie in my head. It's all shooter. I don't know. Guns. Can't think of what it's called.
But you've seen several in between.
I ruined your moment. I'm sorry I didn't tee you up.
You see where I'm going though,
yes.
with that. You've seen several in between. There were stupid ones and there were good ones.
Yes.
Yes, some do it better and some do it bad. I would say Ronda does it well. If she can get a reaction from even one person saying either I like it or I don't like it, I think she's done her job. The very fact that Billy Graham is tweeting that she's horrible, in my mind, means she was successful.
Sure.
Because she got a reaction, whatever she was doing. If he wants to find fault, I kind of see where you were kind of going with this. Fault the writers. And I think they're creative enough to make something new for Ronda, or at least put her in a direction that she's familiar with into WWE. I'd like to see her be a heel in WWE. I think that's what she's best at. Whether they move more into that position or take her another way, who knows? But yeah, I think she did a good job just from getting that reaction.
She did. You know, I'm going to give you the second paragraph that he wrote because I want to speak to this too. Speaking of jobbers, I read a quote today by Dave Meltzer that shook me to the core, and it goes as follows. There was a rumor going around by WWE officials prior to Mania 34 that Rousey was going to make Triple H tap to her armbar finisher instead of Stephanie McMahon. And it appears the company went in the later direction, specifically due to storyline continuing reasons, as Rousey attacks Stephanie's arm the next night on Raw, whereas Triple H is not a regular on-screen character and has disappeared for now. What? Miss Lousy. Lousy instead of Rousey. Okay. I don't know. You want to talk about originality points. I'm not sure he gets them. Miss Lousy was going to make Triple H tap? That would have been received as well as a sea-monk troll of pig crap being dumped on the WrestleMania 34 fans. God, folks, what is the WWE thinking? Ronda Rousey is not a god of some kind, but a mere female ex-UFC failure that got her flat ass kicked twice on the way out. Now that is nauseating. I demand that you, the fans, respond to this crap the WWE is trying to lay on you by even thinking about making Triple H tap out. God, this makes me sick. End quote. Now, to speak on that as well, that was also my fear. And the night she put Triple H through a table, you're right, it's a level of silliness that I'm willing to suspend reality, but it can only go so far. She does not get to come in on a debut and get over on trips. That is ridiculous. Now, we get that the whole thing is set up to be silly, but there's still a part of it that you just can't let us in on. Even the fans that want to crack the code and see behind the curtain and are going to work very hard to do that don't actually want to succeed. We don't actually want to see how the sausage is made, but we're going to try. We're going to try really hard, so don't let anything slip out on social media. Don't be hanging out at the pool in the daytime with the guy that you're going to do a match with that night. Make sure you keep kayfabe to some extent. We're going to try to break it, but we don't actually want to succeed. And if she would have got over on trips, it'd be like, okay, too far. However, okay, it is her debut, and Charlotte, by example, does not deserve to be beaten clean by Ronda on her first night. In fact, nobody does. So who can you turn to willing to do what's best for business? Well, go to the owners of the company. They see the bottom line. They're rewarded for it. They don't have an ego. They're not. So that's where you have Trips that could come in. Wrong choice. And I'm glad they didn't go with it. And so they defaulted to Stephanie, who could go out there and get pinned 1, 2, 3 night after night after night. It doesn't make any difference. She's not a, and of course I'm holding quotations, contender for their championship. So you only had two options. They started at one, which was Trips. They defaulted to the correct one. That was Stephanie. Who's to harm here? They got it right. Even if they started on one and went to the other, by the time the cameras are going, that's all that counts. And they got it right. Where's the upset?
The upset was mostly just reading that letter. I got to give it to him. He does have a mild point. I feel like he's just speaking off the integrity of how good. I think at the bottom line, he's just voicing any opinion that someone still thinks Ronda doesn't deserve a shot at the WWE. I kind of understand where that is coming from, but it's slightly gone away because we've mentioned this before. Her presence she has a presence. No one can deny that. And if she's there, it just helps. It helps everybody. We were talking about this a little bit with CM Punk the other day. His presence helps. Is he going to do great? Probably not. But whoever fights him is going to get a boost in that little rise. Your name's going to get mentioned now on the lower end of a card that you probably were never going to be mentioned on in any format, but now you are. But now that Ronda's there, people are talking about it.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a sky's the limit too. Because she's taking it so serious, and she's not old. She's older than what usually comes into wrestling. Well, she's 29 now, if I'm wrong, she's 30, but that is older than what usually starts their wrestling career. But she isn't old. She's got a shelf life. She can be around, and the fact that she did take it so serious, I mean, I can't go back. I just can't get around that point, because that's what the annoyance was going to be. That she's coming in for a cash grab like we've seen so many people do before, and she doesn't belong there. She's taking on a schedule. She's showing up not only at pay-per-view, she's showing up on Raw. And she's good. She's not great, but she's good. And she's supposed to be bad. So starting out at good, she could turn to great fast. Been so impressed. And I'll just tell you, there's a couple of other guys who got in on name notoriety that also didn't belong. And were in this same pool of, well, what's he doing there? But they won us over. Ken Shamrock. When Ken Shamrock got brought in to professional wrestling, he was great right away. And then it turned out we got a little back information that he actually used to pro wrestle. It was just on smaller scenes, and he had been trained many years before he even got into MMA. So he had that in his wheelhouse. We didn't know it. Came through on camera. I mean, he was great. He popped on screen because he was so intense. So intense. He even did that in his fight walkouts and his interviews, but he was able to translate those. So Ken Shamrock's one. And then Kurt Angle. And people now, because he's been at it 21 years now, may not know how he got in and why he got in and these other things that came off of his Olympic gold medal in his amateur wrestling career. But he was another one that was a head scratcher going, oh, come on, this guy doesn't belong here. But he worked hard. He was a great athlete. He took it seriously. He learned fast. He put his time in. And he's a meaningful play. So the Ronda decision, in hindsight, is beginning to look better and better by the WWE, who lately has been making terrible decisions. I mean, it's shocking what crap that show is now. It's disappointing to me. But that one feels like they got it right. It just does. I'm not sure where a criticism would come.